Good afternoon, everybody. When you're seeing this video, it means that I was unable to make it to the location in time, and I'm probably stuck somewhere in an immigration line or a cab trying to get to you. So I record this video in order to share some of my experiences with ERC with you. And I'd like to start with some general effects the ERC program has had in Europe. And in a system where you had a lot of different national funding systems, there was no way of really comparing the different systems. And suddenly ERC provided this quality label, this way of comparing across the EU between the different researchers. It also empowered especially young researchers, because suddenly there was this way forward, this path to forge your own careers. It gave young research a voice, and it led to a number of changes where young researchers were suddenly invited to participate in making decisions on funding systems and on policies. It also led to changes in national funding systems where people copied some of the aspects of the ERC system, like the panel structure or the way of dealing with interdisciplinarity. So my journey started more than 10 years ago with a starting grant. And in order to be able to understand some of the things that I'll show you, I'm going to give you one slide with a brief background information of myself. So I'm a mechanical engineer by training, a biomedical engineer by passion, and the research of my team is mostly focused at the interface between engineering and biomedical sciences, and more specifically between computer modeling and simulation and tissue engineering, so making living tissues in the lab, skeletal tissues. And for that, we use computer models that can range from artificial intelligence all the way to mechanistic multi-scale models. All of that we do in collaboration, in close collaboration with experimental, clinical, and industrial collaborators. So the situation of my starting grant back in 2010 was that I had just been appointed as a professor in Liège the year before. I had a few PhD students, and I had attained some very, very modest amount of funding, mostly personal mandates. I had a publication output that was good for my domain with an H index and impact factors that were typical for my career stage and my domain. No high impact publications. I had added to the book and had won some prizes and had an active interest in policy. Now, to start writing the grant, you can find a lot of information there, a lot of workshops. You can find a lot of information online, people sharing their experiences. And the great thing about ERC is that the format really focuses on the core aspects. So it's really about the idea, about the impact that you want to generate, about the craziness of the idea. And in the CV section, it's not so much about the numbers as it is about the leadership potential, showing that you can really make this happen. What is important is the choice of panel, because those are the people that will be the first reviewers that will evaluate your grant. So all the grants are available and all the panels, so you can really look at what grants are a bit in the same direction and pick your panel based on that. Now, my starting grant, the idea there was that nature had had millions of years to optimize the processes of how to form living tissues. And so we wanted to use computer modeling and simulation to capture those main ideas of development and translate them into processes to make living tissues in the lab. Now, the effect that this ERC starting grant has had on my career is that I received tenure and a promotion, that my team grew, that I was able to leverage this grant for additional funding on different levels, and that I got huge recognition within the two domains that I'm active in, so invitations to go and speak, to collaborate, and awards and membership. So overall, my visibility was really very much improved with the stamp of approval that I got from ERC. And then 5 years later, the money had run out, so I went for a Consolidator grant. And in take one, compared to 2010, my CV had grown, so more papers, more students, more grants, more everything, but still no high impact publication. And what was different though was that I had taken up more community leadership positions, so leadership positions in my scientific communities. And I submitted the grant, and I just did not make the threshold. But I got 11 reviewers that had submitted a substantial report. And as you can see, I was doing very well. So I had a lot of gray bars, but I had too many very goods, too many oranges, and not enough yellows. So based on those reviewer comments, I was able to go a second time, and I was able to improve my grant. And I was more careful now in explaining things, helping the reviewers how to interpret my CV, what is typical for my domain, how to interpret citations or lag in citations. And I added a list of 10 things I'm most proud of in my career. I also changed the angle of the introduction and a work package, and I was more careful in my claim to be more specific and to go a bit deeper. And so what I tried to do or what I am trying to do in my Consolidator grant is build a mesofluidics mini bioreactor system that mimics the first 7 days of implantation in vivo, so that we can test the living implants that we make in the lab, that we can test them in this setup instead of testing them in animals. And for that, we use modeling, we use imaging, we use a whole lot of technological tools. So with this proposal, I managed to convince the reviewers. You see some of these orange bars were transformed into gray bars and gray bars into yellow. So this is the current team that I now have. Since we have a team day next week, there are still a few people missing in the picture, but overall, the same effect happened on my career. So promotion, growth in team, additional funding, recognition, and visibility. And now an additional thing actually happened is that I started getting a lot of job offers from other universities that were inquiring whether I did not want to move. And my university realized this. And so now they're making an extra effort to make sure that I stay with them, which is a very nice extra benefit. So in conclusion, I believe ERC is very good value for money, if you want to put it like that, in terms of the writing effort, because it focuses on the core aspects. The administration and reporting, it's all in function of the science. It's not endless reporting and endless administration. There's a lot of flexibility and freedom. You cannot predict in blue sky research what you will be doing in 5 years, and project officers know that and understand that. So there's really a lot of flexibility. And of course, for your career, it's absolutely great. So win or fail, actually, you get a lot of valuable feedback. And at the end of it, you have a research program ready to execute for the next 5 years. So again, I'm really sorry that I wasn't there in person today. These are my contact details. I'd be very happy to answer any questions that you have. If you drop me an email to share my proposal and to share a lot of tips and tricks. So thank you very much and good luck.